Collect these illegal, rare, discontinued items before updating your Minecraft world. With every Minecraft update, some things become easier, some things become harder, and some things become impossible to do ever again. Hello there, Ray here, and for the past 15 years, I've searched for new rare blocks, mobs, and items for you to get before they're gone. For the first rare, you can get these vines, which have a little space in between it. So this is a normal vine, this is the tip of it, and then there's another tip that's just floating over here. And the way you get this is that you have a dispenser that is on an observer clock that is constantly bone milling this piece here attached to a block. Then you have two air gaps underneath with a block right here, and now it will automatically grow. And then what you want to do is aim at the second one here, and when it grows this big, just break it once. And every time it grows back, just keep breaking it, and eventually you'll get it so that it will produce a floating one. There you go. And now you can go ahead and remove all of this. Just make sure to leave a block underneath of it. Otherwise, if you remove it, then the plant will continue growing and it will break it. And you could do a similar thing with the twisting vine, and it looks like this. And now you have a cool floating vine, which is no longer possible in the next Minecraft update. Now the next rare is similar to a trick I showed earlier where you can get a little piece of this moss carpet by having water flow over and break it, and then have the water change direction and then switch out the block underneath to support it, but they actually fixed that so it no longer works. But you can find a messed up naturally generated pale moss carpet. You can see that the little piece is down here, and instead of having a piece that connects with the top one, we also have a little piece up here. Now finding this glitched out moss inside of a pale gardens is only possible before the next update. The next rare can be done if you happen to have a mob in an older version that had some boots and leggings on them, in a full release version before 1.9 Java. And this applies to any mob that can wear armor, such as like armor stand, or if you put armor on any type of zombie or skeleton. You can even use the trick that I discovered where you can put armor onto villagers using a dispenser. It doesn't visually show up, but it will be on the villager, so we just gave thorns to this villager. And now let's see what happens when we upgrade to any version above 1.13. So now let's go ahead and open up the world in 1.21.4. This is the last version which you can do it before they fixed it. The main thing to keep in mind is that these mobs have to be kept unloaded between versions 1.9 and 1.13, which you can do just by keeping these guys in unloaded chunks that you never visit during those versions. So now we upgrade a world, and immediately we can see there is something going on. This armor stand, which was wearing the armor, is now holding it in their hand slots. Now you normally can't even access the hand slots unless you have creative mode, which is why this glitch is so cool. And you can see the villager over here who had the armor and was wearing it is now actually holding the armor, just like it would hold its emeralds out to you. And if we use this command on the villager, we can actually see the inventory slots within the villager, where it shows that it is also holding the diamond legs in its offhand, which just doesn't visually show up on the character. And what's really cool about it is that the villager is now holding those thorn armor, which means if I attack the villager, I'm actually going to get a thorns damage back towards me. And since the villager is holding it in its hands, the armor piece never takes durability, which is different than the armor that you would place onto it. Speaking of that, now that it has armor in its both main hand and offhand, its actual armor slots are opened up once again, so you can put more armor onto the villager. So you can get a villager that is essentially wearing 6 pieces of thorns armor. And if you guys don't know, the more pieces you have that have thorns on them, the higher probability that the thorns attack will work. And as I have shown in my past videos, you can use this to get the special death message saying that you're killed by the villager, and it also shows up in your statistics. Now normally when you show a villager some emeralds, it will show you what it's selling for emeralds, and it will hold it in their hand. But since it's holding these diamond boots, it can't actually show you what it's selling. I have noticed that the villager will lose the one in its main hand sometimes, but I'm not sure what causes that. And by looking at the villager's data, we can see it's still holding its other armor piece in its offhand, but the villager is still broken where he's not holding out any of the items that he's offering to sell. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. Now when this trick is applied to mobs that normally have weapons, like skeletons, which normally have bows, it will take their armor slots, which in this case they had no armor, and it will apply it to their hands. And this overrides their hand slot, so it deletes their bow, and now they just got empty hands, so they just end up punching you rather than shooting you. Now there's a lot of cool things you can do with these weaponless mobs. If you happen to get the ones that have the pick up loot tag, you can give them stuff like other weapons like swords to make a really strong skeleton, or even give it like totems of undying. Plus you can combine this with the stacked armor trick, where you can end up making mobs that are almost impossible to kill. I'll have that video down in the description, along with these playlists that actually cover every single rare type of item, mob, and block in the game that you can collect. It's a great playlist to binge watch. The next discontinued rare that you can collect before the next update, that is getting a glitched out end portal in your world. And this is what it looks like. You have the exit end portal for the Ender Dragon fight way down here at the very bottom of the world, so far down that the game will actually destroy the rest of it because it can't place it down in the actual void. So the only part that's actually showing up is the little pillar part with the torches on it. And the way you do this is you actually break a hole going from where the portal would normally generate all the way down to the bottom of the world. You can either do this using a flying machine, but you have to enter the end without actually summoning in the dragon, which is a little bit tough in the newer versions. Or you can do this before 1.9 just by digging this hole before you update. Now it is possible to resummon the dragon even like this, but you have to push ender crystals down in the void in order to resummon it every time, which is kind of crazy. But you are soft locking yourself to the end dimension, as you can't leave the end dimension without actually just falling to the void and dying and respawning. But if you attempt to do this after 1.21.5, it will make sure to put the entire portal above the void so that you can actually leave the end dimension. But you can still use this trick to move your portal up and down so you can get an abnormal looking portal. The next rare is a pretty big one, and that is you can no longer use mushrooms to destroy transparent blocks. When before 1.21.5, if you would grow up a red mushroom, it would come in and replace its blocks with any type of transparent block. Look at all the different types of blocks that we have around this little piece here. And when we go ahead and bone mill it, and now we can see the only block that replaced was this one here, and that was a leaf block. And this was mainly used in order to break the end portal frames, as well as the end portals themselves and the gateway portals, because normally you cannot break these and you can't even destroy them with water anymore. Now this would be commonly used in order to make sand generators, like my sand generator farm here. You can see we use it to break all of these frames in order to access the portal blocks to duplicate falling block entities. Or like in my dragon and anvil duping machine, but once again we remove some of the frames in order to duplicate. But we can still break bedrock using the setup that we came up with, which is 100% bedrock breaking if you build it just like I have it here, and this is where you would have your unbreakable block you're trying to break. And what you do is you flick this lever here, go underneath this trapdoor, aim way up here, and spam click your piston. And then when you have it placed in, it destroys the unbreakable block. And to do this bedrock breaking method, you don't actually need any mods or macros. We made a bunch of these different setups for different angles and different locations if you're trying to break certain things. So check out the video, which I'll put down in the description, if you want to learn exactly how to do this properly. But it's a little bit harder setup, so I would recommend go ahead and use the mushroom to come in and break any gateway portals or end portal frames or end portals before you update to the next Minecraft version. Now the new hot and cold chicken variations isn't going to affect previous collected rare chicken jockeys, even though all zombie piglin jockeys that spawn in the nether will always have the warm chicken, but you can still bring the white chickens over from the overworld into the nether, and nearby babies will still hop onto them. And I actually designed a whole farm in order to take advantage of this, but normally when you're collecting these type of rare mobs, you can actually build a farm up in pretty much any biome so you can get any type of warm or cold chicken jockey you want. Now the warm and cold cows, pigs, and the sheep changes won't make any changes to passive mob farms besides just getting different colored wool. But you can prepare farms for the new items like the chickens' new blue and brown eggs by making your chicken farm now and then moving in the new types of chickens in order to collect those new types of eggs. But the eggs aren't as interesting as the other new farms, including the new cactus flower, as you can already build this entire farm up, and then once you get to the new update, it'll just produce cactus flowers. And you can do the same thing for the bush farms. This includes the normal bush as well as the firefly bush. And the same farm also works for the new tall and short dry grass. Have you joined as a subscriber yet? You can also build up a farm for the other vegetation, such as the wildflower farm, which is just the same farm that we use to make the pink petals. And you can also build the most complicated farm of all of them, which is the leaf farm, which you need to build in order to make an unlimited amount of the new leaf litter. To learn how to build those farms or any other farm in Minecraft, I do have this farm everything spreadsheet, which I'll put down in the description. It goes into every single item in the game of Minecraft and how you can automatically farm it. Now, something that becomes easier in the next update is that things that would normally depend on random ticks, which before would only occur 8 chunks around a player, now those random tick things can occur in any loaded chunks. This means most things will grow automatically in like your spawn chunks, which are typically always loaded. So there is a ton of new farms that can be ran without the player even being there, and I cover that all in more detail in this video. Speaking of chunk loaders, the trick I found where you can load the nether dimension using portals got a update as well in this version. So now if a portal happens to be loading something, such as these items going through loading the overworld, which we can see with the messages in the chat, the overworld side would normally unload when you would leave the game and would not reload when you would join again. But as you can see, they now changed it so that if any portals happen to be loading some area, they will continue to load them once the game is reopened again. So an example of this would be like if you had a nether portal chunk loader that is loading your end portal. That way you could run some machine. If that was running and you happen to be somewhere else in your world, it is going to continue to run now that you loaded it. But in the past, if you would log off and then log back in, it would unload that machine and it would never start back up again. But in the next update, the nether portal chunk loader will just automatically load it once again and it will start back up again. Another thing that becomes easier in the next update is making lodestones, as they no longer need to have netherite in order to craft them, but instead just need an iron ingot. So if you want that lovely lodestone texture, be sure to wait until the next update. Now, one thing that became more difficult in the next update is flying through vines and similar blocks, because now as soon as you touch them, it will stop you from flying and then you will just fall. So be extra careful when flying through biomes with the vines. Using creaking inside of redstone machines became easier. Now if you would name tag the creaking, once it switches over to daytime again, where they would normally break down and despawn, the ones that are name tag will stick around. This is great if you're trying to use the creaking in some type of minigame where you're having the creaking track the player, so you don't have to keep getting a new one every time it turns daytime. But it does not actually help when it comes to resin farms, because whenever the creaking is name tag, it will specifically not give off any resin whenever it is damaged by the player. This is done just so you would have to run your resin farms at night still. But once it does turn night, these creakings that are name tag can give off resin now. So if you wanted to, you could come in and name tag all these creakings, and that way they don't have to respawn every night. But with my farm, it's not really necessary, as they can easily spawn on these platforms, and then they will automatically get washed to the center, so that you only really save a couple seconds. So it wouldn't really be worth it when it comes to resin farms. Now, something that became harder is AFK gold farms without using a macro. That's because they now change it so that if you want to get XPs off of pigmen that are angry at you and just happen to die, you'll need to actually whack them with your sword. Where before you would just like AFK down inside of the farm here, and then they would just die and give you XPs. But I did already come in and make a fix for my gold farms, either the small versions or this bigger version here. You just come in here and turn on the auto clicker that whacks at this armor stand, and then not only will you get XPs like before, but you also get way more loot because we're also using a looting sword. You can learn how to implement these changes with this video here, and I'll have all those videos also linked down below. Now, another thing that became easier for people that don't have access to the seed of their world is finding witch huts, because now you can actually trade these cartographer villagers and they will sell you these new maps that will show you not only where all the other different variations of villages are, like this desert guy here will show me where the nearest savanna village is, but some of the villagers will also give you maps that will show you where the nearest witch hut is, as well as jungle temple. Now, this comes from the villager rebalance thing that they were trying out as an experiment, but all of the other features that they talked about they did not add, they only added in the cartographer one. But they did also add in the wandering trader changes, so that these traders will actually buy stuff from you, which means you can sell villagers these 6 things in order to get emeralds from them, which is great for like extreme versions of Skyblock in order to get tree saplings like we did in my Nether Skyblock series. They don't have to do the crazy thing that we had to do, which was wait for a fox that was holding an emerald to spawn in. Not only that, but you can also now buy different wood types from the wandering traders, as well as enchanted pickaxes. Now go out and tell your favorite Minecrafters and consider becoming a supporter of mine. Thanks to all these guys, and bye bye!